All right, so that is the end of the prepared portion of this presentation. Now I'd like to open it up to you to ask us any questions you may have on this particular program. If you would like to ask myself or Jim a question, simply just type it into the questions tab on your control panel, or if you're joining us via a cell phone or a tablet, select the question mark to access the question section. Jim, are you ready for some questions?
I'm all set. Bring them on.
All right, so first question, will I have an advisor as a student?
Absolutely. In fact, if you enter materials program and EP, I will be your academic advisor. And I will interact with you to help you form your plan of study, to get any approvals required to get into courses that you might not have prerequisites for. All those details I'm here to help with. So looking forward to working with anybody who wants to join us.
All right. Next question, and this is a question that we get quite frequently. In terms of time management as an online student, how many courses can somebody who is working full-time conceivably complete at a time?
It's a great question. And, obviously it depends on, what your days are like. Interacting with working professionals for many years who have pursued education within our program, generally I see that taking one course a term really works out well. And I think that's something that's very doable. Taking two courses a term can be a challenge, and you can see that there's time management issues that the person really has to address. But I don't encourage students to attempt more than two a term. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Jim, can you talk a little bit about how much time maybe somebody should be devoting to their studies per week, per class?
Well, the standard rule of thumb is that, for every hour that you spend in active engagement in, some sort of lecture format interaction, that you would spend 2 hours outside of that. And I think, this does translate to online as well, in that when you go through the modules, the lectures online, you can go through them at a pace that's comfortable for you, and you can rewind, go backwards and forwards, and focus on topics that might be difficult to catch on to. But I think that generally they're designed so that you can finish them within the amount of time that you might be spending as a student sitting in a classroom in a face-to-face exchange. And so, there's that experience, but then there are, office hours, if you will, where the instructor will spend time with students, and that would be in addition to that learning through the lecture portion. And then, of course, there's homework and looking at textbooks or other materials that the instructor might have uploaded for you to look at. And, that would be that 2 hours outside of that lecture time. And so, yeah, I think for every course, you're planning to spend, 9 to 12 hours per week on that course. Yeah.
Great, 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 great. This next question, again, we get quite frequently. If a student, it's basically about PhD study. If a student is interested in kind of future PhD study, what are some advice that you would have for that particular student?
Yeah, that's great. I always like to see and interact with students who are looking beyond, what they're trying to accomplish in just the degree program that they're in, looking to the future, and that's important. Building towards the PhD, you really have to engage with your advisor on this and get their better thoughts. So in engineering for professionals, that degree program, I think does a great job giving you that extra education that you need to take that next step in your career, especially in the workplace. If you're talking about going on to a PhD program, some of the courses and some of the experiences that you might choose within EP would be very different than other students who engage in EP. And so you've got to you've got to proceed carefully, because the degree program in EP is not just a bridge to a PhD program. In fact, within Johns Hopkins, recently we launched a Doctor of Engineering program, and it actually, let's say, interacts better with the master's program in EP than a PhD program, our PhD program does. To make the transition from the EP master's program into the full-time PhD program can be a real challenge and difficult. However, the Doctor of Engineering that we recently launched starting last fall, that actually does lend itself to continuing an education from the master's program in EP onto that doctorate. And so that's what I'm saying. You know, there are options open to students that they might not be aware of, and that's where you have to work with your academic advisor. And they can help you build a plan that will hopefully help you succeed in making that transition from what you might do in EP and materials onto a PhD program or a DEng program.
Sure, sure, sure. And the program that Jim is talking about, it's a brand new program. We actually had our first cohort start recently, and it's very exciting. It's meant to be a doctorate option that is, I mean, more practical. It's not necessarily the right word, but it's more kind of practitioner focused. So it's meant to better kind of complement kind of a working professional, and it's meant to also be a partnership between the university and the student's employer. So it requires finding basically kind of an advisor within your own agency to support you through this program. You can find out more information should you be interested in this on our website. I think by going to engineering.jhu.edu. But yes,
And I think, Cheryl, if I could add to that, I
sure.
don't think the vision right now is that somebody could complete the Doctorate of Engineering remotely. I don't think that's currently the plan. Currently the plan is that students would be close enough to Hopkins that there would be face-to-face interactions among the advisors and the students, both at Hopkins and at the student's workplace.
Cheers. Well, I know that the first cohort were APL students, but cheers. I can look if anybody is interested in that. I'm happy to connect you with more information and find out more information regarding remote options. Give me just one moment. Oh, okay. I missed the initial part of the presentation. How many courses for the master's can be taken online?
Starting in the fall of 2019, students
Mm-hmm.
should be able to complete the degree program and materials completely online. If you were to start your studies in the spring of 2019, there would be online courses that you could potentially take that you could use towards fulfilling degree requirements. But it won't be until fall of 2019 and spring of 2020 that the two required core classes will be offered online. And so that's why I say that beginning in fall of 2019, our degree program can absolutely be completed completely online. But until then, students should be able to take some courses online that will count towards their degree. So conceptually, a student could start this next spring and complete their entire degree program online.
And just FYI, if your intention is to start your studies in the fall of 2019, the registration for those classes will typically opens the first week of July. So lots of time to submit your application materials. And then, it'd be best to kind of submit your applications kind of by around May, at the latest, like May, beginning of June, so that we could issue a decision letter before registration opens. Speaking of online classes, Jim, I was wondering if maybe you could share a little bit about what online classes look like for your program. Like
Yeah,
how.
yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I'll let you finish your question after I jump in and provide some information. I think it really depends on the course and where the instructor is coming from. So, and with some of our classes, some of our instructors are using some of the latest technologies to deliver online content. And when I've taken their courses, honestly, I feel like I'm sitting in a classroom with them. And it's kind of a strange experience because typically when you look at a lot of online courses, they might be PowerPoint slides and maybe some videos and things like that. And maybe there's a talking head down in the corner or something like that. But with some of the newer technologies that JHUEP is using to create their online content, it really is engaging. And I actually enjoyed, even though I know the subjects and everything like that, and you would think it would be boring for me just to go through this stuff. I really enjoyed going through the content and seeing what the instructors are doing. Now, clearly, some instructors continue to use, the PowerPoint slides, the voiceovers, and the video clips and things like that, and that's all good. But I think that, when you look at some of the content for the lectures that some of our instructors are putting up, it's really exciting. And so the online student obviously would go through that online content, and there would be problem sets that would be assigned that would be related to the material, and that would be submitted online. There would be what I said before, office hours that the students would meet with the instructor, and there are different modalities of interaction that instructors use to connect with students. And yeah, I think it's really exciting to see what we're doing online within EP. And in fact, I'm working with some of our full-time master's program, and students in our full-time master's program, where we're encouraging them to take some of their courses online, even though they're here full-time, because it gives a different dimension to the education that you don't necessarily get by sitting in some of the courses that are delivered face-to-face still, because there are things that you can do online that are difficult to do in a classroom setting. Let's put it that way. So, Cheryl, I think there was probably something else you were going to add to that question.
Oh no, that was wonderful. Great answer. For anyone who's interested to know, our semesters are typically 14 weeks. So our fall and our spring semester are 14 weeks, and then our summer semester is 12. So it's slightly condensed. Yeah, thank you so very much. Jim, ready for your next question?
Yeah.
I am a physician with no engineering background. What, if any, engineering background pre-courses would I need?
My first question is, how can a physician pursue a master's program? I think physicians are pretty busy people, but I like the idea that they're going to try to do this. I think time management might be a challenge, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I deal with pre-meds here at Hopkins all the time, and I know what physicians go through to receive their training. And I would not be concerned about a physician trying to switch over into materials and complete our coursework, because if you look at the basic coursework that is in the pre-med curriculum, you have your mathematics, you have your chemistry and physics, and albeit sometimes the pre-meds do take the biological the courses that are meant for bio majors. That's fine. And I think that within our courses, our core classes, they begin at a level to try to bring people together and give everyone the language and the concepts that they need to be successful in that course, as well as in other courses that they take through their materials training in our program. So, yeah. Just as long as people have a solid background in chemistry and physics and mathematics, meaning the calculus sequence, I think they should be all right.
All right. right, wonderful. By the way, this attendee's response to when they have time to study, the response was between 3 and 4 a.m.
Yeah. Oh,
Very nice, very nice. Speaking of which, we would love to, for our other attendees, we'd love to learn more about you. Where are you joining us from? Both location wise, and what are you doing in your life? Are you finishing up a undergraduate's degree? Are you working for a company and kind of looking to kind of aid the work that you're doing within that particular agency? Type as a quick note in the question section so that we can learn a little bit more about you. Jim, the time is 7:54 p.m. So we're getting up towards the end of our presentation. Any parting thoughts for our attendees?
absolutely. If they have any questions, they should feel free to contact me. I don't know if you have my email address in the presentation, but it's spicer@jhu.edu, spicer@jhu.edu. And I'd be more than happy to interact with them. And sometimes even a phone call is required. So I'm happy to chat with them on the phone. They can look up my contact information on the Material Science and Engineering website at Johns Hopkins.
All right. All right. Well, team, it looks like we have gotten to the end of our questions for this evening. Thank you so very much for your time. Thank you for spending an hour of your evening with us, and letting us share a little bit more with you about this program. Jim, thank you so much for your time and for answering all of these questions.
Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it. Take care.